What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the JoeyH podcast. Um, this week we have our sports analysis show. With me, as always, for that sports analysis show, we have our co-host Lucas Wheeler. How are you today?
Good as always. I'm happy to be here.
All right. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. We got a lot to talk about today, but first and foremost, we want to start off with the NBA Finals.
Mhm.
So the Celtics are up 3-0 against the Mavericks. Can they come back? The Celtics beat the Mavericks 107-89 in game one. Then again, 105-98 in game two. And then again, last night, 106-99 in game three. Lucas, can the Mavericks pull a epic comeback?
Uh, I don't think so. I really don't think so, especially after last night's performance. That was that was really like off. That just left a sour taste in a lot of Dallas fans' mouth. Um, uh, I mean, I think the series is gonna go. At the beginning of the series, I thought it was gonna be Celtics in five. Um, But now I might just say like Celtics in four, dude. Like after last night was embarrassing. Um, the way Luka Doncic just played, it's not his entirely his fault. It is a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the leader. He's their captain. He's their number one guy. So when your number one guy is acting like that, it's hard not to put a lot of the blame. And I think he does take a lot of the blame. I don't think he takes all of it, but I mean, he's the leader in points on the Mavericks. He's averaging 6 to 7 rebounds and assists per game. So I mean, to get fouled out in game three when you're on the brink of just losing the finals,
Yeah,
um, you got to really think about that.
I wanted the I wanted this for Kyrie,
Yeah,
because Kyrie, he was drafted in 2011, or yeah, 2011, and he's been in the league for 13 years now. I really wanted this, for him because I mean, when are you going to get revenge on your team
yeah,
in your old team in the finals?
yeah,
But hey, we can't speak too early. You know, Celtics still have to win one more game.
yeah.
So I'm
We've
not.
seen it done before. We've seen a 3-1 comeback. It
They,
can happen.
they still have. So they play tomorrow night. It's still in Dallas. If they win, the series goes back to Boston, in which I will be very worried for the Mavericks. But
Yeah,
listen, who knows what's going to happen? Luca is um, 25 years old. Okay, he's 25 years old. I mean, he'll have plenty of other chances to make it to the finals, but the way I see it with Kyrie, it's really make or break time for him.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows? And yeah, I'm excited to see where this could go if the Mavericks can pull off a huge 4-game comeback. That would be insane. But yeah, I don't know.
What did you think of Luka Doncic's performance last night?
His performance, I think he did the best he could, under the given circumstances. But as you mentioned, he fouled out, which, I feel like that happens to team leaders in those situations. But Luca, he did the best he could, and it was a close game up until the last few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But then Boston pulled away, and yeah, I'm excited to see. I really do not want to see the Celtics hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
Yeah.
Okay, and before we and actually just before we move on, I want to ask you. You know, we see guys like Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic. Like dominating the NBA nowadays from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this: who has like a better, so to say, head start when it comes to like the competition level, like as far as to like getting to the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing the competition level going up? Would you say it's European players or would you say it's American players?
Honestly, I'd have to say American players just because I mean the NBA is right here in America. I mean,
Of course.
besides Toronto, with the Raptors, you really got American players in an American league, and it's really cool to see those Eastern European guys, and some of the Western European guys from like Spain and France, because we see those guys too. But um, I really'd have to say to get a better head start, I think um, the American guys get that advantage. I do
Mm-hmm.
think the Eastern European guys get a lot of love over here, though, and they do get a lot of good competition over there in Europe. Uh, Everywhere you kind of go, basketball is kind of exploding a little bit. It's starting to really catch a grip on the rest of the world, just besides America and Europe. You kind of
Of
see it.
course.
You kind of see it in Asia now. You're starting to see it in South America, like with Brazil. Brazil, it's big over there. Um, you kind of see it kind of a lot of other places, you know.
Yeah,
But to answer your question, I do believe American players get a better head start.
I do believe. Yeah, I would say America because I just think there's better like I would say there's better like competition as far as like high school and you
Mm-hmm.
know
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and college wise. But the thing is, like with Europe, like we look at guys like Victor Wembanyama. He started playing pro basketball in France when he was like 15 years old,
Yeah.
and they don't just give that opportunity to just anybody. And you know, in France, you have ex NBA players, you have you also have NBA prospects as well. You're playing against, so I wouldn't necessarily say the competition is more. They have better competition. I would say that like American competition it just supersedes that just a little bit. So, but before we move on to the UFC, yesterday it was announced that Jerry West passed away at the age of 86. So rest in peace to Jerry. Um, Rest in peace to the NBA logo. Absolute legend.
Legend.
Of course. Um, Now on to the UFC. First, let's discuss Islam versus Poirier. Your thoughts, Lucas?
It was hard to see. I love Poirier. I love Poirier, but Islam, dude, he's a monster. He's a monster. I mean, I knew it was that probably going to happen. I did not. I definitely wasn't going to bet on Poirier, but I really did want Poirier to win. Um, Not surprised, but I believe Poirier's retiring. I think that was it. I think he even said if he got the belt, he would have put the belt down and the gloves. So like, um, it's a pain to see. You hate to see it when you're one of your favorite fighters retires, but it always happens. It happens. Uh,
Yes.
MMA is not a young man's sport. You rarely see anybody over the age of 36, besides like a couple really
Andre
good.
Arlovsky.
Yeah, yeah, or Yoel Romero, or DC. You rarely see it. You can only name like five or six guys who competed past the age and still kept up with it past the age of like 36, 35.
Yeah.
Um, but you hate to see it, but it's a adapting. It's always a revolving sport. There's going to be somebody new. There's going to be somebody better. There's always somebody better. And I'm excited to see where Dustin Poirier goes. He's got a good fallback. He can become a coach. He talked about becoming a coach maybe. He's got the hot sauce company. That's really good. I love
Yeah.
his hot sauce. Um, he can become a commentator. You never know what he's going to do. He's a smart man. He's got a lot of opportunities out there, and it was really, really fun to watch him, man. Like, really
And
fun.
yeah, before I discuss my my experience watching Islam versus Poirier, I just want to say Dustin Poirier is a first ballot UFC Hall of Famer, undisputed
Yeah,
for sure.
there's no question. There's no question. By the end of the year, he'll be nominated. Like,
Yeah.
there's no question. I do believe Islam Makhachev is really good. He is definitely the number one pound for pound fighter in the world right now. He's definitely the best fighter in the world. There's zero question in my mind. I mean, he's going up against the top of the top fighters in the world, and he's looking like he's training out there. He's putting a clinic on out there. I mean, there's a possibility of the Oliveira rematch, and that is exciting, but there's not a whole lot in my mind that it's gonna be any different from the first fight. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. That's fair enough. So I watched Islam versus Poirier, and honestly, it wasn't really a surprise to me. Islam dominated from start to finish. You know, I mean, Islam is just he is probably one of the best fighters I've ever seen. He will. I think. I don't think yet, but I think in the next year or two, if he keeps up on this path, I think he can sneak into that top five um, fighters of all time. So
He's definitely proven to be one of the he's already in the conversation of best lightweights of all time, in my opinion.
fair enough.
Definitely best lightweight champions, just because who's he beaten and how he's beaten them. I think, in my opinion, he's a better champion than Khabib. I think that.
Okay. And I don't think you would necessarily be wrong. Unfortunately, like inactivity,
Yeah,
was a big part of, like Habib's title run. But look, I can look past all that. I think Habib is the second greatest fighter of all time.
Mhm.
First of which being the John Jones. But look, Dagestan is just different.
Dude, they
It's
got something in
just,
the water over there.
I mean, it's insane. Like those guys, like from the moment they're born, it is wrestling, you know,
Yeah,
training, working hard. There's videos of Habib wrestling a bear,
yeah,
when he was a young
yeah.
kid.
As like a third grader, like
Insane.
insane.
Um,
Yeah,
so moving on to another part of the UFC. Should Islam move up to 170 to fight Leon Edwards for the title?
That'd be that'd be something. Yes, because he would whoop Leon's butt. In my opinion.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Leon, when Leon became champion, that was like the Holloway fight against Dustin Gaethje. That finish was insane, and he backed it up in the rematch when he beat Kamaru Usman. Controversial or not, he still won the rematch. But he's been just real inactive as a champion. I mean,
Well,
yeah, I don't
here's
know.
the thing. He fights July 27th against Bilal Muhammad in
Yeah,
Manchester, England. That should be, I think Leon will put on a great show. But I think the winner of that fight, though, Islam should get the next guy. And I
yeah,
will go on and I will say on the show, I completely agree with you. I think Islam totally dominates Leon in a
yeah,
fight in the UFC welterweight fight.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
yeah. It's just Islam just dominates. It's no question about it. But that's all I got to say about that.
All right, fair enough. Now, on to college football. We got a lot to discuss. FSU versus Notre Dame, November 9th. FSU has a big season coming up, especially now having new members of the ACC, and new tests and new challenges. Um, just to ask Lucas, this was one game that on your guys' schedule that stood out to me the most. Florida State plays Notre Dame in South Bend, primetime game, November the 9th. Um, who do you think's gonna? I assume you're gonna say Florida State's gonna win,
Yeah.
um, but do you think Florida State? Do you think that game will at all be a challenge for them?
Um, honestly, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, Notre Dame's always like a team to look out for on your schedule. But I always think Notre Dame is overhyped every year. Uh, they're a good team. They are a good team, but I mean, they're ranked like I saw an AP poll, like early AP poll, way too early or something, and it was like number 8, and I was like,
Mm,
they're not number 8. They're not the number 8 team in the country right now. I think Florida State will win. That's always a great game, the Notre Dame Florida State game. Um, Notre Dame does know how to put on a good game. Uh, I mean, last year when they played Ohio State, that game was amazing.
mm,
So I'm excited to see them play. And I mean, it's in South Bend, so you always gotta. And the Fighting Irish know how to bring a crowd too. They know how to.
of
Their fans
course,
are great fans. But
exactly.
I obviously think Florida State's going to win. I think Florida State's going to have a great season like last season. Um, I'll predict it right now. I think Florida State goes. I'd say 12-1. I say we'll go 12-1.
All right. And yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Notre Dame, like you said, they know how to bring a great crowd, but I don't think that will be much of a test for Notre Dame. I'm sorry, Florida State. So I think Florida State should win that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, now Alabama, on to Alabama. Alabama is looking scary, and I think in a good way.
Yeah.
But however, they have Everest to climb this year, and this is the season to show that was it Nick Saban all along, or was it the players? Now, um, here are some games that stood out to me. They play Georgia at home September 28th in Tuscaloosa. Okay, at home. Tennessee in Knoxville, LSU in Baton Rouge, and Oklahoma in Norman. So
I think they'll win 3 out of those 4 games. I think they'll beat Tennessee. I know they'll beat LSU, and I know they'll beat Oklahoma. Georgia, I don't know. Georgia is just they're still just going on that train of just winning all the time. Uh,
yes,
and I think that's going to be a good game. That's going to be a great game. I'll be watching that game for sure. Uh, but I don't know, man. Georgia is just a scary, scary team. They're a powerhouse. They're not going to not be a powerhouse for a long time. Um, do I think they might win the Natty next year? That's another question for another time. Um, we got to be closer to the season for that question.
yeah,
But man, they're just a steam train, man. They're not stopping for anybody.
okay. Um, and yeah, I think I think that game, Alabama Georgia, which I mean, you name it, every kickoff show is going to be there. College game day.
Mm-hmm.
Fox or actually no, I don't think that SEC does Fox, but you know, yeah, College game day will be there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not even a question. However, you know, Alabama versus Georgia, that's going to be a lights out game, 6:30 p.m. kickoff.
Oh yeah,
Um, you
everybody's gonna be
know,
watching that game.
of course. However, I still think Georgia has an uphill battle when they play Alabama.
Yeah.
But Jalen Milroe is a is a very talented quarterback. Carson Beck is also a very talented quarterback. That
Mm-hmm.
game will for sure be fireworks. Um, it's too early to make a prediction right now, but I do see Alabama having that slight edge.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm not saying Alabama is a pushover or anything. I'm just saying Georgia is just a phenomenal team. I think Alabama has a excuse me, good chance, but yeah.
yeah, and when I say slight edge, I mean for all those games that I listed.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, last time Alabama went to Knoxville 2 years ago, they lost, and then they lost in Baton Rouge 2 years ago as well. But I don't really think that means much now. I think that rosters have changed and atmospheres have changed, and I think that you know Alabama can still be great, but this season is a really important season. Because they've been top dogs for so long, and all those teams that I've just listed, they've been itching for a spot at the top. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have to see. Now, last thing before we end the show. 2 days ago, Talon Taylor, a four-star recruit, wide receiver from Geneva, Illinois, committed to Georgia. And per 24/7 Sports, he referred to Kirby Smart as the next Nick Saban. Lucas, your thoughts on that?
Um, that's interesting. It's pretty hard to be the next Nick Saban. There's nobody like Nick Saban. There's never gonna be another person like him. He may have a good time coaching there, but people almost followed Nick Saban like he was Jesus or something. Like they love them there.
I
And
mean,
I'm not gonna say they're not gonna love them there either. But I don't know. I'd have to give it a couple years to
look,
see.
I, I, I mean, I think that's somewhat fair because Kirby Smart did coach under Nick Saban, so I think I think it's fair. But then again, Nick Saban is Nick Saban, and
Yeah.
he's won tons of national championships. He won a national championship with LSU back in 2003. He's just like he's a machine. But
Yeah.
now that the king has forfeited his crown,
Yeah.
there is a new crown for the taking. And
Yeah.
if you ask me, I think Kirby Smart is front of that line to take that crown. But the teams will just have to battle it out. They love him there in Georgia.
Yeah, they do.
The Bulldog fan base is one of the strongest I've ever seen, and always been a bucket list for me to go to our. I don't know if a bucket list, but I would like to go to a Georgia game in Athens. That would be cool.
Yeah, me too. Kirby Smart is a great coach. I'm not saying that. He's a great coach and he's got a great team and he's put together a true dynasty, in my opinion. But to do what Nick Saban did is just almost unheard of. But he
Yes.
is close. He is probably the closest one.
If anyone can do it, it's him.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, just just like the camaraderie they had, when Kirby was at Alabama, it was something else. It was special. So yeah. Well, guys, this has been a long show. Appreciate you guys for sticking around. Um, Next month, the UFC, college football as well. We'll keep up with the news, and yeah, we'll also talk about the outcome of the NBA Finals as well. If the Celtics win tomorrow, we'll definitely, or if they win in the next week or so, whatever, we'll also talk about that as well. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Lucas, any final thoughts?
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Peace.